are listening to Lex Talk, MoreAction. I'm your host, Cameron Minter. And today, we're doing something just a little bit different. Today, our guest is Sharon Price.
Hey, Cam. Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Sharon.
How are you?
Now, you've been the host and you do the interviews, but today, I get the honor of interviewing you.
I know. I feel like it's going to be a tough day, Cam. I feel like it's going to be a tough day.
It might get ugly, but I need you to sign that agreement before we start. Everything is everything. No, today we are going to be talking with our executive director of your Community Action Council, Sharon Price. And we're going to do, we miss an anniversary. And it's important internally, you know.
Right.
That anniversary is important internally. But with COVID and everything that's going on in the world, we had to pass up on that.
That's right. That's right.
We're going to loop back. We're looping back, and we're going to catch up. It has been over a year.
October 7th.
Look at there.
Yes.
Since you have been at the helm. And we just want to kind of reflect on that time and get some perspective and maybe some insight on who you are as a person.
Wow, that's pretty low, Cam. That's pretty loaded. I'm used
You
to.
did sign the agreement.
Right. I signed it. I said anything that I want to be off the table is off the table.
Yes. So let's start. October of 19.
That's right.
October 2019. You got the word. And let me see. How was that for you? Receiving that confirmation that all the work you put in is paying off on this day?
I actually received the word before October 7th.
Okay.
You know, that was my agreed upon start date. But Cam, it was a lot. Mm-hmm. It was something that I was going after. I really wanted to be the next executive director for Community Action Council. Mm-hmm. But with that, when you think about the weight that comes with being an executive director of an agency the size of ours, and when you think about what the expectations that I have for myself and the expectations of the community and the staff, and just let me remind you, this was before COVID-19 was on anybody's mind, right?
Yes, this is when life was good.
You know, and so I was really excited about the opportunity to lead the organization that I love. Right. I will tell you, I came to Community Action in 2009, and I have been in love with Community Action, with the work that we do ever since. Yes. And I guess I actually loved Community Action before I even came here, because I was a partner for many, many years at National Academy with the Head Start program. And so with Head Start being my first love of community action, this was a natural progression for me. So I was pretty excited about it. But I'm going to tell you this story, and I hope you don't mind if I share. No. But it's my story to tell. That's so right. Here we are. Tell it. And you signed that same agreement. So here we go. And any agreement that's good for me is good for you too.
Oh my goodness.
But just talking about and reflecting, and even when I was thinking about, you know, the interview today, I started looking back at different things and thinking back on what kind of year it had actually been for us, right? And for everybody in the community. But I went back through my text messages, and I was thinking about the day that I was driving. It was a Saturday, and I was on my way to Community Action to move my things from my Head Start director desk into my office of the executive director. And I'm on my way, and I'm driving, and the tears start flowing, and I couldn't stop them. I'm like, why am I crying?
Right.
Why am I crying?
Right.
I'm happy. This is exciting. You know, I can't wait to get going. What is wrong with me? So I pull over, and I'm like, this is going to stop in just a minute. This is going to stop, and I'm going to go do what I need to do. I pulled over, and it didn't stop. So I said, okay, well, I'm just going to drive on in. You know, it's nothing I can do now. I've got to get that desk moved because I'm starting in there on Monday.
That's right.
And as I was driving, I was thinking about the weight and the expectation and everything that goes along with this position. And I reminded myself that I was leaving out an important part of what comes with the responsibility of leading this great organization.
True.
I wasn't bringing God with me. You know, I had been doing all of this work and preparing and, you know, trying to be great with interviews and doing all of that. But I forgot about one person. I'm like, I'm not ready to do this unless I bring that with me too.
That's right.
I cannot do this by myself.
That's right.
Cannot do it. So the listening audience may not know, but you're also a pastor.
Yes, I am.
So I humbled myself and made myself vulnerable to you and Gwen. And I sent this text to him. And I was telling Cameron, you know, that I was excited and I'm emotional and I can't stop it. And, you know, I need you all to pray with me and for me to make sure that I am setting the course right from the very beginning. I didn't want a do-over.
Yeah.
And I was laughing when I was reading it because one of the things that I said to you was, you know, after I begged for you all to help me on that Saturday after you got a haircut, you know, I told Cam, I said, look, I'm not scared and I ain't no punk, but I know what I need first.
I know that's right.
You know, and so that was an emotional day for me. And, you know, I was actually thinking about it on the drive over here, where the tears just could not stop flowing. I remember them dropping on Gwen's hands and, you know, that was pre-COVID and all of that. But, you know, it was important for me to make sure that I did it right the first time.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the stories that, you know, I think about, and this is the first time I think I've shared it with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, here I am in the rough.
Hey, but you know, you took time to figure out what was most important, and it's humbling in any leadership position to know that so many lives are connected to the choices that you make, and you know, it's all great when we know where our power comes from. So that was important, and I was honored and privileged to assist in that and be a part of that. So
yeah, that was transformational for me because my faith has always been there.
Absolutely.
But it was so easy to lose sight of how I got to where I was without taking that step back and saying, oh, girl, get it back together. You didn't get here by yourself. And then that made the difference. After that, I was able to go in and move my office, but it just felt like something was empty, you know, and I just, you know, struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah, that was. Hey, it was an exciting time. It was a very exciting time. And one of the things that, so you accepted the position October?
October 7th is when I started in the position.
And then November, we had a meet and greet.
That's right. That was so fun.
Now tell me about that meet and greet. What was going on that day? What was going on at your household?
My household is a very honest and open household. And so, you know, we had been having family conversations even before taking this position because I needed my family to be on board with what it is that I'm going to be doing.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah, I needed them, you know, to know that there are going to be long days, to know that service for others is greater than service for yourself. And that's my calling. And it has been my entire life. But just getting it forged together and molding it into what it meant for me.
Right.
You know, but also I wanted them to know that you're not just any little college student. Anything that you do now has some ramifications, you know. So you got to think about all of those things.
That's deep. Now, I'm a pastor's kid, and you know, of course, now I'm pastoring. But there was an added expectation, unfairly.
You got to be good all the time, Cam.
Right.
Pastor's son, yeah.
My grandmother was a pastor, so therefore I with the pastor's son. You know, it doesn't matter if that was my calling or not. But now all of a sudden, everything that I do is now amplified. Tell me about how did that roll in your household? Did everybody was like, okay, Mom, I got you?
Well, yeah, well, they did, and they, you know, I have a very supportive family, and we have open conversations. There's no topic that's ever off the table. But, you know, having to talk through with them, and because social media is a big thing, right? And so I needed them to know that I'll be making decisions that aren't going to be popular, you know, always. And with social media, you never know what different comments, you know, that other people might put out there. You cannot respond to any of those, you know. Well, you know, one of my daughters is very vocal, and she was, you know, you mean I can't respond if they're saying something negative about you? No, you can't. You have to keep scrolling because that's going to be a part of it. Knowing that every decision that I make is not going to be popular with everybody. Right. And that's just the way that it rolls.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's something deep because you're in a public position, and there's nothing really private about it. Now, your life with your family behind closed, that's private. But I mean, if you walk crooked down the street, we're all gonna know about it.
Can we know about things right now that don't even matter? She wore her hair in a bun. She wore her hair in a ponytail. Oh my God! You know, she had on high heels that were too high. She had on flats. Right. You know, all of those things that come into play that really don't mean a whole lot at all. Right. You know, but my kids see me as mom. That's what I am to my kids. Absolutely. And, you know, we were having this conversation, and my son was like, that's great. What's for dinner? You know, that's great. But what are we going to have for dinner? You know, and, you know, just kind of keeping it moving. And, okay, you know, while we're talking about this, I got to be at practice. So you got to take me to practice, you know.
Now, that's another challenge, and I'm sure we're going to get into that. Not only are you the leader here, you're still mom, you're still sister, you're still wife, all these different titles. And it seems as if sometimes you're split in 18 different ways. Right. And being able to deal with that, being able to respond with that. I mean, we talked today, and you said you haven't felt this tired in a while, but how are you dealing with that? How's that going?
Well, let me tell you, it's different day by day. Right. The great thing is that I have a great support system with my husband at home. You know, we have a great support system. We both support each other. And when it comes to the kids, we're both actively engaged in what's going on with the children. But there are times when, you know, I'm out late or I'm somewhere else, and, you know, I have to miss things that go on in my family life. And that's, you know, we talk about it. Things that I can't miss, I do not miss. And I don't apologize for those things. Right. Sometimes I have to say no. You know, I'm learning to say no more and more, more and more and more and more. You know, but it can be a challenge. Right. You know, one of my colleagues, I was talking to her. I'm like, I got to get home and cook dinner. She was like, you cook dinner? You cook? Yes, I cook. Yes, I run this organization. I'm a mom. I do carpool and I cook.
Do it all. Yes. We get it in. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's so important. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of these choices and decisions that you had to have with your family didn't start when you became ED. That's something that's rooted in you. And so it's easier once you make a power move. Then it's like, hey, for real now.
That's right. For real. That's right. That's right.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. So we're going to go take a break here shortly, just real quick. But before you came to this position, the council was in a dark area, dark time. So we want to talk about that transition from where we were to where we are now. And we'll be back right after this break.
Community Action Council Prep Academies offer free early childhood education and comprehensive services to children birth to 5 years old and their families. This school year, parents and families can choose the Head Start learning option that best fits the need of their child and family, whether it's virtual or with their Head Start program or in-person learning. The choice is yours. To enroll your child in one of their prep academies or in Head Start at home, call the Community Action Council today at 859-233-4600 or by going online at COMMACTION.org. That's ComAction.org.
Community Action Council is launching Help for Home, a local initiative to raise funds for rental assistance for families who have been economically impacted by COVID-19 and are now facing the threat of eviction. You know, it seems that two of the most frequently used words over the last few months has been the phrase "at home." For some right now, those words are stirring up a sense of fear and uncertainty, as thousands in our community are still struggling from the loss of a job or from being underemployed. For others, those words are stirring up a sense of gratitude and a deep desire to help. It is our hope that Help for Home can be the bridge for that help. If you would like to contribute, you can donate easily any amount of money by texting the phrase "Help for Home" to the number 243-725. If you would like to give online or by check, please visit our website at comaction.org. Thank you for helping us help others stay in their homes.
During these very difficult times, Community Action Council is on the front lines, caring for our neighbors as we have over the past 55 years. We are safely helping individuals and families access shelter, food, energy assistance, and health care. We're also ensuring families with young children have baby formula and diapers. We're continuing to prioritize education, using virtual learning to help us teach our Head Start children and engage our youth. Things look a little different right now, but we are Community Action Council, and we're made for this.
We're back. You're listening to Lex Talk, More Action. I'm talking with Sharon Price, our executive director. We're getting a little insight on some things that happened in her 1-year anniversary. So, when you came to the helm, there was some negative publicity for the council that we really had to work through. How was that transition for you?
Well, I'll tell you what. Anytime there's change, right? We were in between executive directors. We had an amazing group of senior leaders that were, all coming together, and we were ensuring that Community Action continued to be the strong organization that we are. Mm-hmm. So even though we faced some challenges, the strength of Community Action has never wavered.
Right.
And so transitioning into a position that's been vacant for over a year comes with its own challenges.
Right,
anyway.
I forgot.
Yeah, it comes with its own challenges, because Bridget was in the interim position and she was making sure that everything was going along. But there are over a year, there are gaps and holes and things like that occur naturally, right?
Right.
And so we had relationships that we had to go and cultivate. We had some that we had to build and some that we had to mend. But just taking it all in stride, Cameron, and not focusing. I am not a person that focuses on the negative.
Right.
Never.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get in that negative place. It's not going to happen for me because it messes with my spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I am not going to live in a negative place.
One of the things she loves to say is, "Okay, we'll be mad about that tomorrow or next week."
Well, that's absolute next week, really. When people come to me, because they do, and we have very passionate people that work at Community Action,
right.
And sometimes things feel like the end of the world.
Right.
And people will come to me. Mm-hmm. We're going to be mad about that next week.
Right.
But today we're going to find a solution, to meet whatever the problem is.
Right.
Because, there's that old saying, the problem is not the problem. The problem is how you respond to the problem. That's the problem.
That's so true.
That
is so
and
true.
So being, there are going to be lots of times to be upset about things, but how does that fix anything for you?
Right.
You can be mad all day long.
Right.
That's not going to change what is.
Right.
And so, yes, I tell people we're going to be mad about that in 2 weeks.
Right.
If you're still mad about that in 2 weeks, then we need to have a different conversation,
Exactly.
About moving forward. But I don't like to get stuck in the negative.
Right.
And so moving forward and coming in, it's about, to be honest with you, being compared. I mean, Jack Birch was at the organization for nearly 100 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everybody in the community knew Jack Birch and how he manipulated, or no, I don't want to say manipulated,
right.
but how Jack did things.
Right.
And then, then we had another executive director, and everybody just does things a little bit different. And then you have this woman coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything but be a woman. That's what I know how to do.
Look at that segue. You
yes,
segue perfectly.
Yes.
So in your speech, on your meet and greet speech, you had mentioned something about connecting to the young ladies that are looking for up to you. And I want to make sure that we recognize that you are indeed a first. We just watched Kamala Harris inauguration into the first vice president of the United States, and you happen to be the first woman and woman of color,
yes,
for Community Action Council's executive director position. Tell me about that. What is that feel like? How does that roll?
Well, I don't know how this rolls for everybody else, but like I told you, I have been practicing being a woman for over 50 years, right?
Right.
And so I think I'm pretty good at it, and it looks different on different days. I'm going to do things just a little bit different than men do it, and honestly, other women do it. Absolutely. I like to have fun when I'm at work, because the work that we do is very it's some tasking work. And, it's not a big deal, and it's not out of the ordinary to come in and to be celebrating with a dance in the office.
Right.
That's not uncommon. If somebody has a win, there's a favorite song that we put on, and everybody celebrates everybody else. And so, I to be honest with you, I was concerned about how people would receive my femininity.
Right.
Because that's different on different days. Yesterday was a bun day.
Yeah. Let's talk about, and fairly, unfairly, you're judged in your leadership because, for one, you're compared to a man. So you can't get upset like some men can get upset. You can't respond like some other men can respond. How is that, juggling that? You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you're managing your femininity in leadership, but you're still a woman.
That's right. And so here's the thing. There are absolute things that men can say in a boardroom or in a meeting, and it's, he's being assertive, he's, passionate. And then if women say those same things, we're emotional or whatever. Right. And so what I do have to manage the way that I say things. Right. That's just
fairly,
part.
unfairly.
Fairly, mostly unfairly. I can't speak as directly, and I'm a direct person by nature, and so sometimes that's a little bit off-putting with people. But that's just part of who I am. Right. But being very careful about what I say and how I say it, because I don't want to come off as the angry black woman, right, Cam?
That's
I can't
layer.
do that.
That's another layer, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's not fair. But one of the things that I wanted, and you talked about Vice President Kamala Harris, and in no way am I comparing myself to her accomplishments. That is just out of no way.
Right,
that's just, I think that's an awesome step for America. But right here in Lexington, to be a black woman in a leadership position in a pretty large organization, to have other, young, not just young black girls and young girls of color, but all little girls looking up to see, somebody else is already in that position that looks like me. Right. Maybe I can do that, know. And I think that that's important. And so that was one of the things that I was thinking about at the meet and greet that you were talking about, is to know that there are eyes on you, that little girls are looking to draw inspiration from you.
Right.
Right.
And that's so important. And right now in America, it is a women's movement, a women's power, and it's something that America is embracing. It's something that you're seeing more and more of. We're being challenged on the way that we accept leadership or how we look at leadership, even not just women, but color as well. So there are so many different challenges that are being afoot right now. You know, we're in a great movement, and I think it's overdue.
I absolutely love it, Cam. I enjoy seeing women celebrating other women and their accomplishments. And not that men aren't making these same accomplishments,
right.
but the door is opening wider and wider. You know, that glass ceiling, and, you know, put your Chucks on because they're being broken all over the place.
Right.
You know, that's pretty amazing, and it's pretty fun for me.
Yes,
you know,
that's great. That is great. So you are in office. You're moving and shaking. I'm sure you had a outline of
I had a lot of things that I was planning on doing, right. Cameron.
Because you know, I'm in communications at the office, and I get out of external communications. And before COVID, we were really pushing for this economic incubator type of
that's right.
Agency, and all of a sudden, COVID hits.
March 6th.
March 6th hit us.
Yes, it did. And, you know, because part of our service territory is not just Lexington,
right.
Lexington, Fayette, Bourbon, Harrison, and Nicholas. And we, of course, have 13 other counties, and we have statewide programs and all of that. Mm-hmm. But Harrison County was where that very first case, you know, came about.
Yes.
And so
in Kentucky.
In Kentucky, yes. And, you know, Cam, we were on the phones with the judge executives, the people from the health department, the attorneys, everybody on this Sunday, the board chair on this Sunday night, you know, trying to talk through how we were going to manage this and what it meant for community. That night, it was about, what does this mean for community action in our families?
Right.
You know, what does it mean for, you know, what does it mean for our staff? What are we going to do for our staff? Are our staff at risk? You know, and that's heavy.
Right.
At that time, that was heavy.
Right.
You know, my faith was shaken at that time.
I can imagine.
You know, because at that, you know, that was one of the moments when you could not control what was getting ready to happen.
Right.
And the one thing that I knew is that there's no single case.
Right.
There's no single case. That didn't just go poof,
right.
and there you are. And so, honestly, I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid.
And duly. I mean,
yeah.
rightly so. I mean, for our listening audience who does not know, one thing that occurred for Community Action Council is we were given the green light to transfer from our brick and mortars to our homes and continue working and continue serving the entire pandemic. I mean, and even including now.
Well, you know, this is what community action does, right? Community action is an expert on pivoting to respond to the community in a time of crisis. That's what we do. That's
Absolutely.
What we are made for. And so making that adjustment, you know, we were kind of figuring this out as we went when it started in Harrison County. Right. Okay, you guys go on home. We've got some conversations, you know, that need to be had on how we're going to serve the community. And then as a couple of weeks went by, you know, there's a lot of things happening behind the scene, and things are happening at warp speed, right. Cameron.
Right.
And that's why I said I will never plan out something for 6 months for implementation. That's never going to happen again because never again, never again. You can be mad about that next week.
I know.
But seriously, when you think about what we did, there were conversations happening with people that I had yet to meet, people that I'd only had a couple of meetings with. Okay, this is what you can do. This is how community action is going to leverage with you, and this is how we're going to make this happen. We started seeing, we knew it was going to happen with everything being shut down. We knew that it was going to happen, that people weren't going to have access to food. Why? There's nothing in the stores. Everything's off the shelf. Parents can't get diapers. Parents can't get baby food, formula, diapers. They can't get any of these things. We immediately shifted to be able to help provide mass food distribution. No questions asked. We were able, and this is the strength of our Head Start program, because we would not have been able to do all of the things that we were able to do without that program. It just wouldn't have happened. And so you're talking about mass food distribution, summer feeding programs, hot meal distributions, because we got to take care of our seniors too, because they can't get out. So we got to get meals to them, And so every day, the weight and the stress of did you forget somebody? Did you forget somebody? And having those conversations and getting on the phone with some of our great partners and saying, this is what we need. This is a gap. I don't have any money for this. This is a gap. How can you help? And the community coming through with that. Listen, I have seen the absolute in all of this. If there's any silver lining anywhere about this whole COVID thing, because there are not many, it was to see the community work together. And even on a more intimate, to see the spirit of community action moving. Because we had staff, Cameron, doing work for others, putting themselves at risk to make sure that people that, were experiencing food insecurity, well, I'm going to stop talking about food insecurity, because what we're really talking about is hunger. Okay. I'm going to stop trying to find flowery words, for what it really is. Families are hungry, children are hungry, and we've got to be able to respond to that. But our staff were so great, Cameron, with everything. We had people volunteering to do things that were all way outside of their job descriptions. But because the community needed us. And that's what community action is made of. I'm proud to be here. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm proud to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm humbled to be here, but I'm proud to be here, because the number of lives that we touch, the number of families that we help, this is all about Lexington. This is all about all of our communities. You strengthen it for somebody else, it's going to strengthen automatically for you. So all of us being in this together, it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
And that switch, we were focusing on getting people out of their circumstances, and immediately, and we're still focused on getting people out, but now, because that job, that low-paying job, has been taken away. Now we're in crisis mode. We're dealing with crisis everywhere around us, and some people more than others. When this pandemic hit, it hit harder. Everybody's not in the same boat, and you said that to staff once before, that everybody, we're all in this storm, but everybody's not in the same boat. Some boats are got holes in them. Some of them are running, but we're all in this storm together. And I think it was very telling in how we pivoted, and everything that you've been working on, everything that you've planned, out the window. Start fresh. And that has to be a challenge.
Listen, if I would be lying to you if I told you that it was anything other than difficult. It was. It was difficult. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of teamwork, because nobody does anything by themselves, right? This is not about she did this, she did that. This is about community action, working together, and helping the community. And everybody being in the same boat. We saw that even with our staff, Cameron, and that's been a challenge.
Right.
You know, we have the external challenges of serving the community, but we also have those internal challenges, because everything that you might look from side to side, from left to right, and you may think that, oh, this person is being able to do this or this person is being able to do that, and it might not feel fair, but everybody's not in the same boat.
That's the truth.
Everybody's not in the same boat. And when you think about it in the community, when we're using that boat analogy, everybody's not. Some people did better during the pandemic financially. You know, you had people that were working that got laid off. They received the $600 additional unemployment insurance. They're like, whoa,
Right.
I'm making more money than I was making when I was working.
Right.
You know, and then you have other people that are probably still waiting on unemployment that never received it. You know, you have children at home when they're normally in school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you've got parents dealing with all of that. Oh, it's been a lot. COVID has been extra and on steroids. That's what I'm saying.
Well, on an even more serious note, as you said, that children are at home more during this COVID-19, and as soon as the pandemic hit and we closed our centers, we've had a tragic accident.
Yeah, we
on
lost
one of our kids.
Right.
We're going to talk about that right after the break.
Whether through our Head Start at Home virtual learning or in-person learning, the Prep Academy offers you early childhood education to suit your child and family. With either option, children will receive 2/3 of their daily nutrition, have access to health services through our nurse practitioner, and explore family engagement opportunities to help families achieve their goals. The choice is yours. To enroll your child in one of our Prep Academies or in Head Start at Home, call Community Action Council today or go online at comaction.org.
Community Action Council is launching Help for Home, a local initiative to raise funds for rental assistance for families who have been economically impacted by COVID-19 and are now facing the threat of eviction. You know, it seems that two of the most frequently used words over the last few months has been the phrase "at home." For some right now, those words are stirring up a sense of fear and uncertainty, as thousands in our community are still struggling from the loss of a job or from being underemployed. For others, those words are stirring up a sense of gratitude and a deep desire to help. It is our hope that Help for Home can be the bridge for that help. If you would like to contribute, you can donate easily any amount of money by texting the phrase "Help for Home" to the number 243-725. If you would like to give online or by check, please visit our website at comaction.org. Thank you for helping us help others stay in their homes.
Whether through our Head Start at Home virtual learning or in-person learning, the Prep Academy offers you early childhood education to suit your child and family. With either option, children will receive 2/3 of their daily nutrition, have access to health services through our nurse practitioner, and explore family engagement opportunities to help families achieve their goals. The choice is yours. To enroll your child in one of our Prep Academies or in Head Start at Home, call Community Action Council today or go online at comaction.org.
We're back. You're listening to Lex Talk, More Action. I'm talking with Sharon Price. And before the break, we were mentioning, as soon as the pandemic hit, we closed our centers. We had to send the children home. And we ended up having a tragic accident. And one of our children died in the care of the home. I want to talk about that because behind the scenes, I was able to observe and see your response to that. And you're fresh out of Head Start director position, and I'm not even sure. I believe you've probably met this child and even went to the center and saw the child. But your response to that was heartwarming and tragic in the same breath. There was to me, outside looking in, it was like a responsibility that you let them down, that it was your fault, or there was an aspect of you trying to remedy something that you had no control of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And can you tell me about that a little bit?
That, Cameron, that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough because as a mom, you know, it's hard to think that any parent would lose a child during an accident.
Right. That's
hard. And from my position as the executive director, but I had just left the Head Start director position, and the love that I have for children and families, you know, it's no greater.
Right.
You know, I don't have to explain that. But I did feel responsible because I said, if we could have found a way to keep our center open,
right,
that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
If we would have talked more about safety, that wouldn't have happened. If,
right,
you know, that would not have happened. And, you know, at some point, when you're in the moment, you have to decide, what are you going to do?
Right.
What are you going to do? Being hurt about it, that's not going to change anything.
Right.
That can't change what's happened. What can we do to keep this from happening to somebody else?
And just to be clear for our listening audience, there was an accident with a gun, and a child was shot by the parent's gun, and the child died. And this wasn't even a week,
right,
since we had been closed.
No, I think, I don't know. I think it was like day 5 or something along that line. But then once you gather your feelings and your emotions, because one thing that I'll never not do is not allow my emotions to be whatever they are.
Right.
I just won't allow that. In all of my femininity.
Again, yeah, I was going to say, and again, you can't, right? You can't cry and be that feminine, because, you know, you're in leadership and people are looking at your response.
And when people see that response, it's okay.
It is.
It is okay to be emotional. It is okay to be sad for somebody. Just like we get happy for other people, it is perfectly okay for us to be sad for other people and situations. True. It's okay. And I don't apologize for it or anything like that. But once you gather yourself, what are we going to do?
Right.
What is this organization going to do to keep this from happening to anybody else?
Right. And
that's when you get the phone call.
Yeah. And so I gotta be transparent. So,
oh gosh, come on.
So no, there's nothing funny about it, but your reaction was like a 30-minute video on safety at home, and I'm recording, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then she was like, I promise you all, Sharon went through every possible scenario that a child could run into at home.
That's right.
You
can't give a half message. You cannot give a half message. You cannot, because the kids, I have 4 kids of my own, Cameron, and, you know, I don't know, but I lost one of my kids in the house, and she was in the pantry with the pots, and I was getting ready to call 911, but I couldn't remember the phone number. And, you know, then I heard the pots move, and there she was. But things happen so quick in the home, because the reality of it is we don't sit in our homes and eyeball our kids 24 hours a day. That doesn't happen. They have autonomy to go and play and learn, and, you know, and my only concern was keeping children safe. And if that meant reminding people of things that can go wrong, that's what I wanted to do.
Yes, we went went from cords, your charge
cell phone.
cord. Yeah.
Listen, don't leave those cell phone cords. You know, some of them are 15 and 20 feet long. Nope, that a child can get hung on that.
Absolutely.
Mop buckets, no. A toddler can, because toddlers are top heavy, they can topple over.
That's it.
I did not want anybody to experience any tragedy.
Right.
No.
And that was the result. That was the gathering saying, what can I do? We've lost one, but what can I do to help everybody else?
Help everybody else.
What can we do?
That's
and it was a moving moment. And you know, sometimes like when your mama tell you to do something and you like, Mama, this is crazy. No, yes, ma'am. Hey, we was there. We was there and we took care of it. But it was important to get our parents to realize that, you know, usually they're not home.
Right.
But now they got to be home, and we've got to do things differently.
Well, anytime that a routine changes in anybody's life, I've gotten in my car and I was on my way to Kroger, and the next thing I knew I was in the parking lot at work. Anytime your routine changes, something can happen because it's almost like your mind goes into, like that auto drive or whatever.
I do that too.
Yeah, I mean that happens to everybody. But anytime that we can do something to help somebody else, regardless of what it is, regardless of where that energy stems from, to make that movement of safety a priority, we just got to do it.
Right.
Because it's not just it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
You can either do a 30-minute video or you can do nothing. I'm not ever going to choose to do nothing.
Right. So with you saying, we're going to segue into about doing something, that we can't just not do nothing. And as if the pandemic wasn't enough, as if being in a new position wasn't enough, if the tragedy that we experienced within our Head Start program wasn't enough, here comes a racial movement that also had to be addressed. Now, I've been here 13, 14 years, and we've been apart, but we've been kind of silent. We've been in the background on these issues, but once George Floyd, I'm saying that right, yes, that occurred, and it swept over America like a wet blanket.
Absolutely.
We had to react. We had to participate. We had to do something. And what was your motivation in breaking that silence and getting involved?
I think it goes back to not being afraid to have difficult conversations, not being afraid to step up and say, this is wrong.
Right.
I still remember when I saw that happening on my television set, and I stood there even after, it had rolled a couple of times, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Right.
But, things like that have been happening far too long.
Right.
And so this time it was right in front of America's eyes.
Right.
And so I know how I felt personally, and I knew that we had to do something. We're going to the marches, we're participating. Yes, we are going to do all of these things in the middle of a health pandemic.
Right.
Because, you're thinking about it, and, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself at risk. I'm down here walking with the people, but in the middle of a health pandemic, because that is how important this is.
Absolutely.
And so just bringing that back around to our agency and putting systems and doing different things, because Community Action is a very diverse organization, and we need to make sure that we're paying attention to how people are feeling. All kinds of people, had feelings about this. Everybody had different feelings about those.
Right.
Some people were vocal about them and some were not. Some people didn't understand, how all of the protesting happened and why it was so magnified the way that it was. And so having conversations internally with our staff, and one, you might not always like what I say to you.
Right.
You may not always like it. Sometimes you're going to love me and sometimes you're going to not. But I'm going to always give it to you truthfully, the way that I believe that it is to be. And having those honest conversations with our staff and making sure that everybody knows I hear you and I feel you.
Right. I
can relate to how you feel in this moment. And other staff people saying, I really thank you. Thank you for talking about this and not being afraid. But, we're taking steps. Nobody's perfect. This country is not perfect. But we're taking steps to make sure that community action is always paying attention to that. We have an equity officer that we're going to have coming in pretty soon. We also, the board of directors found it important enough to make Juneteenth a holiday for Community Action Council.
Look at that.
Yeah, I know it.
There.
So, making some strides. Want to make sure that community action is a place for everybody. Everybody is welcome when they work here, and everybody is welcome when they come to our program, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what their bank account is. Everybody is welcome at Community Action.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to get the final word from Miss Sharon Price. But before that,
what? Don't you gotta look.
Something was birthed out of this movement.
One of our
first podcasts.
Yes,
we're going to talk about that right after the break.
Community Action Council prep academies offer free early childhood education and comprehensive services to children birth to 5 years old and their families. This school year, parents and families can choose the Head Start learning option that best fits the need of their child and family, whether it's virtual or with their Head Start program or in-person learning. The choice is yours. To enroll your child in one of their prep academies or in Head Start at home, call the Community Action Council today at 859-233-4600 or by going online at COMMACTION.org. That's ComAction.org.
During these very difficult times, Community Action Council is on the front lines, caring for our neighbors as we have over the past 55 years. We are safely helping individuals and families access shelter, food, energy assistance, and health care. We're also ensuring families with young children have baby formula and diapers. We're continuing to prioritize education using virtual learning to help us teach our Head Start children and engage our youth. Things look a little different right now, but we are Community Action Council, and we're made for this.
Whether through our Head Start at Home virtual learning or in-person learning, the Prep Academy offers you early childhood education to suit your child and family. With either option, children will receive 2/3 of their daily nutrition, have access to health services through our nurse practitioner, and explore family engagement opportunities to help families achieve their goals. The choice is yours. To enroll your child in one of our prep academies or in Head Start at Home, call Community Action Council today or go online at comaction.org.
We're back talking with Sharon Price about what's been going on here at the council. We've been through a pandemic. We had to get out in the streets and march for people's rights. And out of all of that, some things were birthed at the council.
Listen, we have been very busy. We have been very busy. We had some things in the works. Prior to all of that happening, we had this vision of this podcast and this vision of a studio, that we were going to use for help, promotions and talking about Head Start and all of that. And then boom. Cameron gets a 30-day notice to get it done. Don't talk to me. Get that done, Cameron Mentor.
Yes.
So it was great.
Yeah. We actually started our first podcast in a conference room.
Yeah, at the administrative building, that's right.
Because the studio was not ready, but we could no longer wait.
Well, we talked about responding, and because sometimes you can respond too late.
Right.
You miss the opportunity and your voice is not heard.
Right.
But when we were marching in the streets and doing all of this and, having these crazy conversations and reading White Fragility and, the effects of poverty and all of the Ruby Payne books that I can get my hands on, reading all of that to try to wrap my mind around what was happening behind the scenes, all of those conversations and collaborations. I went back to one of my very good friends, Katrina Bowman Thomas.
Yes.
She's the other she is the executive director of Northern Community Action Commission. And I said, we got to do something together.
Right.
We have got to, because while we're doing this in our community, she's doing the same thing in hers.
Right.
And people need to know what is the protocol, which is the name of the show. That's the name of the show.
That was our first show.
That was our first show. And that's when we brought in the youth from her program. They got in the vans and they came on to Community Action. And we, rallied our youth too. And we kicked off our first podcast ever with what is the protocol? Listening to youth on how they felt when this was happening, how they feel. Do they feel connected to their community? Do they feel wanted and valued by their community? It
was a powerful podcast, and it kicked us off. The very next one, we went to Northern Kentucky.
Yes, we went on the road. We were like,
we talked to the police chiefs.
There were three. We had Chief Weathers from here, Kenton County. I forgot the other two counties
Buddy.
because Buddy, but I don't remember.
Right.
But anyway, those police chiefs are in Katrina service territory.
And,
so we all got them together.
Kentucky State Police.
Yeah, that's right. Kentucky State Police was there.
Y'all just look it up. Go watch the video.
It's been a long year. I can't, but we got together and we were like, let's get our chiefs on, because this is what I know about Chief Weathers. He doesn't condone violence of any type.
Right.
He does not.
Right.
And so everybody, emotions were just so high that we needed to have a conversation with our police chiefs so that people were able to humanize them.
Right.
They take them out of this uniform that they have on. Those are people that care about their community. Now, are there good and bad in everything? Absolutely. Absolutely. But at that time, we were worried about our black men and our black boys and girls and their safety. And what is the law? Do you have to do certain things if the police pull you over?
Right.
Yes, you do. There are certain things that you have to do. And so we wanted to have that conversation, but we also wanted to hear from them, but we also wanted our community to see us with them.
Right.
Because when I call 911, I want a police officer to show up at my door.
Say it.
Yes. So that was exciting, and I think they were a little bit nervous.
Right. They didn't know what to expect.
No, they didn't. They didn't know if we were gonna be coming at them, but they made themselves vulnerable to the moment.
Right.
And
that was crucial. It was crucial, and it's still crucial. I mean, people say that they are interested in the movement, but the word talk, that talk is not what's really being appreciated. They want to see what you're going to do, and by participating and trying to come to some type of level understanding of where we could be was crucial during that time. And I was just happy to be a part of it.
It had to happen.
Yeah.
There are things and there are moments when action is required.
Yeah.
Anytime that there's injustice, I don't care what it is, action is required.
Absolutely.
And if you sit by and you see that you see something wrong, you need to do something.
Absolutely.
How can we change this? What can we do to make things better? And so being able to talk and have conversations that affect people right here in our communities, no shade. We're just trying to inform you of, what your rights are, the importance of voting, enrolling your child in Head Start, financial empowerment, economic development, all of those things. We're just trying to make sure that we are setting the pace for people to feel inspired to move into action for themselves, and it just can't happen locally. It has to happen, on a broader level than that. And so that's why you see, and we had legislators coming in, having different conversations with people that work in, in Frankfurt that are affecting the laws that affect everything else.
And you mentioned partnerships with Katrina Bowman in Northern Kentucky, but there are a lot of new partnerships and some old partnerships that have been revived. Can you give us just a quick,
A quick. There's nothing quick. Listen, there is nothing quick about it. Right. Okay, so Timothy Johnson and I came into our executive roles about the same time. And he's with United Way. He's the executive director there. And so we were going, like in October, November, and December, we were going to these same community meetings, and we would always introduce ourselves as the newbies on the block. Right. The next thing that I knew, our relationship was closer than it had ever been. Right. And because everything that was going on, right. I'm having communications with him saying, Timothy, let me tell you, this is the struggle that I'm having, and I really think that he thought that I was crazy the first time that we actually met, and we walked around Lexington, literally walked around Lexington talking and sharing, but that relationship was formed and strengthened. And then, PG Peoples, right. He watches over me, and if he likes something I'm doing, he tells me. If he doesn't, he tells me that too. He doesn't. That man doesn't bite his tongue. Yes, he is. Yes. Early on, remember when he called me and he was like, Sharon, do you have masks over there? Right. I'm bringing you some masks. Right. You got to be safe. I'm bringing you some masks. Next thing I know, masks show up. But with God's Pantry and the list is just so long, absolutely. Cameron, that if I go through it, I would leave somebody out. Right. But I don't want to do that.
But what's most important is partnership is key to our survival. We do a lot. But we can't do it all.
We cannot do it all.
And I don't even think we should even try to do it all. There's people out there who are trying to do it. Let's connect. Let's work together to get a bigger impact in our own communities. I think that's key right now, especially now.
Well, Cam, I think that there's no need, that old saying, reinventing the wheel. Right. There's no need to do that. There's no need to duplicate services when you can partner with someone. God's Pantry partnered with Community Action. Community Action is not in the food business. Right. That's not what we do. It's
not us.
But we can serve that food. We can distribute that food for you. You get us the food, and we can move it out for you and make sure that it gets to the people. Right. And Mike Halligan was like, that's a bet. Okay, this is what we need to do. Right. He's calling me, and he was like, okay, what do you think? You're the food expert. You tell me where I need to have staff, and I'm going to have people over there. Right. And this whole community, I think that if we would, we do a good job of working together, but I think that we could do more. We can. I think that we can build on what's already there.
And we're called to do more.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now, we are called to do more and be more for the people that we serve.
And you just said a word. You just said a word.
Don't get me to preaching here. Speaking of the word, what is your final word for your audience today?
I'm just glad, and I thank everybody for your continued support of me in this position. I also thank everybody for the support of your community and your fellow neighbor during this time. And be called to action. If you see something, do something. If you don't know what to do, give us a call. We'll help you find out what to do. There is so much work to be done in Lexington and in our collective communities. Don't be afraid to step out on that limb and take action.
Right. Well,
that's it.
Sharon, it's been an honor to be sitting here interviewing you today.
I know this is most uncomfortable being on this side of the questions because I find other people far more interesting than myself.
We'll be the judge of that, yeah. But going down memory lane, it's been a crazy year, and we honor you. You know, we missed that anniversary, and you know, that's my preacher in me. You know, that church anniversary.
Yeah, you like that anniversary thing,
right? But I really believe we honor people when we can, and you know, you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to keep serving this community.
And I'm going to tell you, I need everybody to continue to have hope for what the future is and what it can be, because I think it can be stronger for all of us.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You have been listening to Lex Talk, More Action. Keep listening.